Since in a land not barren still, because thou dost thy grace distil, my lot is fallen, blessed be thy will. And since these biting frosts but kill some tares in me which choke, or spill that seed thou sowest, blessed be thy skill. Blessed be thy dew, and blessed thy frost, and happy I to be so crossed, and cured by crosses at thy cost. The dew doth cheer what is distressed, the frost's ill weeds nip and molest, in both thou workest unto the best. Thus while thy several mercies plot, and work on me now cold, now hot, the work goes on, and slacketh not. For as thy hand the weather steers, so thrive I best twixt joys and tears, and all the year have some green ears.
When to my eyes, whilst deep sleep others catches, thine host of spies, the stars, shine in their watches, I do survey each busy ray, and how they work and wind, and with each beam my soul doth stream with a like ardour shined. What emanations, quick vibrations, and bright stars are there? What thin ejections, cold affections, and slow motions here? Thy heavens, some say, are a fiery liquid light, which mingling, aye, streams and flames thus to the sight. Come then, my God, shine on this cloud and water in one beam, and thou shalt see, kindled by thee, both liquors burn and stream. Oh, what bright quickness, active brightness, and celestial flows will follow after on that water which thy spirit blows.
Sure it was so. Man in those early days was not all stone and earth. He shined a little, and by those weak rays had some glimpse of his birth. He saw heaven o'er his head, and knew from whence he came, condemned hither. And, as first love draws strongest, so from hence his mind sure progressed thither. Things here were strange unto him, sweat and till, all was a thorn or weed, nor did those last, but, like himself, died still as soon as they did seed. They seemed to quarrel with him, for that act that fell him foiled them all. He drew the curse upon the world, and cracked the whole frame with his fall. This made him long for home, as loath to stay with murmurers and foes. He sighed for Eden, and would often say, "Ah, what bright days were those!" Nor was heaven cold unto him, for each day the valley or the mountain afforded visits, and still paradise lay in some green shade or fountain. Angels lay leisure here, each bush and cell, each oak and highway knew them. Walk but the fields, or sit down at some well, and he was sure to view them. Almighty love, where art thou now? Mad man sits down and freezeth on, he raves and swears to stir nor fire nor fan, but bids the thread be spun. I see thy curtains are close drawn, thy bow looks dim too in the cloud. Sin triumphs still, and man is sunk below the centre and his shroud. All's in deep sleep and night. Thick darkness lies and hatcheth o'er thy people. But hark! What trumpet's that? What angel cries, "Arise, thrust in thy sickle"?
"'Twas so I saw thy birth, that drowsy lake from her faint bosom breathed thee, the disease of her sick waters and infectious ease. But now at even too gross for heaven, thou falls in tears, and weep'st for thy mistake. Ah, it is so with me. Oft have I pressed heaven with a lazy breath, but fruitless this pierced not. Love only can with quick access unlock the way, when all else stray the smoke and exhalations of the breast. Yet, if as thou dost melt, and with thy train of drops make soft the earth, my eyes could weep o'er my hard heart, that bound up and asleep, perhaps at last, some such showers past, my God would give sunshine after rain.
Fair ordered lights, whose motion without noise resembles those true joys, whose spring is on that hill where you do grow, and we here taste sometimes below. With what exact obedience do you move, now beneath and now above, and in your vast progressions overlook the darkest night and closest nook. Some nights I see you in the gladsome east, some others near the west, and when I cannot see, yet do you shine, and beat about your endless line. Silence and light and watchfulness with you attend and wind the clue. Nor sleep nor sloth assails you, but poor man still either sleeps or slips his span. He gropes beneath here, and with restless care first makes, then hugs a snare, adores dead dust, sets heart on corn and grass, but seldom doth make heaven his glass. Perhaps some nights he'll watch with you and peep, when it were best to sleep, dares no effects, and judge them long before, when the herb he treads knows much, much more. But seeks he your obedience, order, light, your calm and well-trained flight, where though the glory differ in each star, yet is there peace still, and no war. Since placed by him who calls you by your names, and fixed there all your flames, without command you never acted aught, and then you in your courses fought. But here, commissioned by a black self-will, the sons the father kill, the children chase the mother, and would heal the wounds they give by crying zeal. Thus by our lusts disordered into wars, our guides prove wandering stars, which for these mists and black days were reserved, what time we from our first love swerved. Yet, O, for his sake, who sits now by thee, all crowned with victory, so guide us through this darkness, that we may be more and more in love with day. Settle and fix our hearts, that we may move in order, peace, and love, and taught obedience by thy whole creation, become an humble, holy nation. Give to thy spouse her perfect and pure dress, beauty and holiness, and so repair these rents, that men may see and say, where God is, all agree.
Behold her lip, how thin it is, her nose how sharp, her voice how shrill, which doth disclose a froward shrew. Who hath her by mishap shall surely hear a constant thunderclap. Silence is her disease, for like a mill her clapper goes and never standeth still. By night hobgoblins houses haunt, this sprite doth vex and haunt the house both day and night. The rack, the wheel, the Spanish Inquisition torments not like her tongue. A sad condition her husband lives in. Like a coward he must leave the field and always vanquished be. He must commend what she doth well approve, and disallow of what she doth not love. We tame wild fowls, bears, lions, but no art to tame a shrew could any yet impart.
I saw a peacock with a fiery tail. I saw a comet drop down hail. I saw a cloud beset with ivy round. I saw a noak to creep along the ground. I saw a pismire swallow up a whale. I saw the sea full of ale. I saw a glass 16 foot deep. I saw a well full of men's tears that weep. I saw an house as high as the clouds or higher. I saw the sun at 12 o'clock at night. I saw the man which saw that dreadful sight.
Now I gain the mountain's brow, what a landscape lies below. No clouds, no vapours intervene, but the gay, the open scene does the face of nature show in all the hues of heaven's bow, and swelling to embrace the light, spreads around beyond the sight. Old castles on the cliffs arise, proudly towering in the skies, rushing from the woods the spires, seen from hence, ascending fires. Half his beams Apollo sheds on the yellow mountain heads, gilds the fleeces of the flocks, and glitters on the broken rocks. Below me, trees unnumbered rise, beautiful in various dyes. The gloomy pine, the poplar blue, the yellow beech, the sable yew, the slender fir that taper grows, the sturdy oak with broad spread boughs. And beyond the purple grove, haunt of Phyllis, queen of love, gaudy as the opening dawn, lies a long and level lawn, on which a dark hill, steep and high, holds and charms the wandering eye. Deep are his feet in Towey's flood, his sides are clothed with waving wood, and ancient towers crown his brow, that cast an awful look below, whose ragged walls the ivy creeps, and with her arms from falling keeps. So both a safety from the wind on mutual dependence find. 'Tis now the raven's bleak abode, 'tis now the apartment of the toad, and there the fox securely feeds, and there the poisonous adder breeds, concealed in ruins, moss and weeds, while ever and anon there falls huge heaps of hoary, mouldered walls.
Ye sailors bold, both great and small, that navigate the ocean, who love a lass that's fair and tall, come, hearken to my motion. You must have heard of Milford Haven, all harbours it surpasses. I know no port this side of heaven, so famed for handsome lasses. In Milford on your larboard hand, we found a town called Hakin, the snuggest place in all the land, for lads inclined to raking. There all the girls were cleanly dressed, as witty as they are pretty, but one exceeded all the rest, and this was charming Betty. A fisherman her father was, her mother a fishwoman, and she herself a fishing lass, perhaps possessed by no man. She'd bait her hook with lug or crab, no fisherman so nimble, and at her oar she was a dab, but never at her thimble. Her fishing dress was clean and neat, it set me all a-quaking. I loved her, and could almost eat this maiden ray of Hakin. If e'er you saw a cuttle fish, her breasts are more inviting, like shaking blubbers in a dish, and tender as whiting. Her cheeks are as a mackerel plump, no mouth of mullet moister. Her lips of tench would make you jump, they open like an oyster. Her chin as smooth as river trout, her hair as rockfish yellow, cod sounds. I viewed her round about, but never saw her fellow. He in Christ's doctrine deals by way of trade, money by preaching poverty is made, whose labours were bestowed upon the head, whose heart, that found itself neglected, fled, and now a mere head he lives, with Greek carved in his skull and furrowed in his cheek. Be Greeked, be Latined, and be Hebrew too, yet from no tongue has learnt what he should do, who lives as if life's business was to write learned materials for a schoolboy's kite, whose left hand cannot one good action quote, and all the merit of his right a note. A commentator sage, a critic nice, a cobweb library his paradise, who though our gracious master has foretold the everlasting doors are shut gainst gold, yet still digs on for gold in mammon's mines, and heaps up precious ruin for it shines, thinking he may elude what Christ decreed. and though a camel fail, that he'll succeed, and worn with acris, hopes like chaff to fly, and squeeze to heaven through a needle's eye.
Where cider ends, there ale begins to reign, and warms on Brecknock hills the Cambrian swain. High on the summit of King Arthur's chair, he quaffs his ale and breathes untainted air, looks down on Hereford with scornful eyes, esteems himself a native of the skies. Puffed with the thoughts of his exalted birth, he scorns the humble mushroom sons of earth. His high descent from time's first dawn can trace, from Gomer down to Owen Tudor's race. Thinks none so great on this terraqueous ball, himself the ragged emperor of all. This mountain prince outflies ballooning kings, a cloud his car, the winds his whistling wings.
Above Lonco, in a sequestered dell where monks in former days were wont to dwell, enclosed with woods and hills on every side, stands Tintern Abbey, spoiled of all her pride, whose mournful ruins fill the soul with awe, where once was taught God's holy saving law, where mitred abbots fanned the heavenly fire, and shook with hymns divine the heavenly choir. Though now the fallen roof admits the day, she claims our veneration in decay, looks like a goodly matron drowned in tears, by friends forsaken, and broke down with years. Her fine old windows, arches, walls unite to fill the mind with pity and delight. For from her splendid ruins may be seen how beautiful this desecrated place has been. Round the old walls observe the ivy twine, a plant attached to grandeur in decline. Here now no bell calls monks to morning prayer, doors only chant their early matins here. Black forges smoke, and noisy hammers beat, where sooty cyclops, puffing, drink and sweat, confront the curling flames nor back retire, but live like salamanders in the fire. For at each stroke that's by the hammer given, from the red iron fiery sparks are driven. In all directions round the forge they fly, like lightning flash, and quick as lightning die. Here smelting furnaces like Etna roar, and force the latent iron from the ore. The liquid metal from the furnace runs, and caught in moulds of sand forms pots or guns. Oft shifts its shape like Proteus in the fire. Huge iron bars here dwindle into wire, assume such forms as suit the calls of trade, ploughshare or broadsword, pruning hook or spade. To all impressions the kind metal yields, thimbles for ladies makes, for heroes shields. These fruits of industry enrich the place, where plenty smiles in every busy face.
The landscape's various charms the muse explores, the druid haunts and mona's hallowed shores. High Arfon soaring o'er the humbler isle, the winding Menai, Daniel's mitred pile. Thy towers, Caernarfon, triple summits llyn, that distant close the vast and varied scene. Below, amphibious man, as whim prevails, trims up his little bark and spreads his sails, or, led by florid health, descends to lave and skims the surface of the bracing wave, or frets the liquid Asia as he floats, where sister nations crowd the busy boats. Here glowed the patriot breast with public good, and urged a wish to stem the obstructing flood. Bad genius formed the potent pier that braves impeding tempests and the war of waves. Beheld the embryo arch with fostering smile, entice the infant to the parent isle.
I never wholly feel that summer is high, however green the trees or loud the birds, however movelessly eye-winking herds stand in field ponds or under large trees lie, till I do climb all cultured pastures by, that, hedged by hedgerows studiously fretted trim, smile like a lady's face with lace laced prim, and on some moor or hill that seeks the sky, lonely and nakedly, utterly lie down, and feel the sunshine throbbing on body and limb, my drowsy brain in pleasant drunkenness swim, each rising thought sink back and dreamily drown, smiles creep o'er my face and smother my lips and cloy, each muscle sink to itself and separately enjoy.
Salt sprays deluge it, wild waves buffet it, hurricanes rave. Summer and winter the depths of the ocean girdle it round. In leaden dawns, in golden noontides, in silvery moonlight, never it ceases to hear the old sea's mystical sound. Surges vex it evermore by grey cave and sounding shore. Think of the numberless far-away centuries long before man, when the hot earth with monsters teemed, and with monsters the deep, and the red sun loomed faint, and the moon was caught fast in the motionless air, and the warm waves seethed through the haze in a secular sleep. Rock was here and headland then, ere the little lives of men. Over it long the mastodons crashed through the tropical forest, and the great bats swooped overhead through the half-defined blue. Then they passed, and the hideous ape-man, speechless and half-erect, through weary ages of time tore and gibbered and slew. Greyer skies and chiller air, but the self-same rock was there. So shall it be when the tide of our greatness has ebbed to the shallows, so when there floats not a ship of this storm-tossed westerly main. Hard by the minster crumbles, the city has shrunk to a village. Thus shall we shrink one day, and our forests be pathless again. And the headland stern shall stand, guarding an undiscovered land.